Esto es Mesa de Barrio, un ping-pong de ideas, comentarios y análisis de los acontecimientos más importantes afectando a nuestra comunidad en los Estados Unidos y América Latina. Mesa de Barrio es una producción de ABClatino Media Network, conectando e informando a la comunidad latina, porque los latinos ya no somos minoría. Síguenos en las redes sociales como ABC Latino. Escríbenos a info@abclatino.net y visita nuestra página de internet www.abclatino.net. Muy buenos días, muy buenas tardes, muy buenas noches a todos y todas, donde quiera que se encuentren en este planeta Tierra, nuestra casa. This is a special edition for ABC Latino, la revista al aire, and Mesa de Barrio, and it's going to be in English as a new novelty, or we might try even to be Spanglish. Who knows? Anything can happen today here. This is for 91.3 FM Radio Poughkeepsie and the 5 frequencies of Robin Hood Radio Network, the public radio in the region. Also on our YouTube channel and also on public access TV every Sunday, 8 to 9. And today's theme is well-being. What is well-being? What is holistic well-being? And we have with us a group of flowers, beautiful flowers, and I will ask you to go around and say your name and the particular topic that you were talking here today. Just a brief sentence to identify yourselves, okay?
Buenas tardes, señoras y señores.
Louder.
Hola, buenas tardes, señoras y señores. Me llamo doctora Wanda Jeanty y el tema de esta noche era sobre la nutrición fundamental.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Norma Pereira y artísticamente mi nombre es Ixmucane. El tema que presenté hoy y que vamos a conversar es acerca de la medicina holística ancestral maya.
Muy buenas noches, yo soy Dora Ines Grosso, psicóloga holística, y el tema que presenté es meditación y esenciales.
Hi everyone, my name is Joyce San Pedro. I covered yoga and some meditation and some breath work today.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yvette Sanchez, the owner of Your CBD store in Wappingers Falls and White Plains. And I talked about medical cannabis with an area concentration on CBD.
Very good. So you are all somehow practitioners and related in one way or another to well-being, okay? Holistic well-being. So in a more ample way, what is holistic and what is well-being nowadays? How do we define this? We were just, Wanda, you were talking about nutrition, but we know that most of the things that we can get in the supermarket are not nutrition at all. They don't help us to live well, right? So what is well-being nowadays? For you, for each of you, what is the concept of well-being?
For me, it is what you just said, Rob. It's a holistic approach, whether it is a spiritual well-being, whether it's a mental well-being, a physical well-being. It is in all those pieces of your life, a balance where you feel centered and healthy.
Yeah, I agree with you, Yvette. I think balance is a key word. I think holistic is just taking an overall approach where, you know, you can't just focus on one thing and all of a sudden have like a full, complete, balanced lifestyle. You have to consider everything. It has to be nutrition. It has to be self-care. It has to be, you know, just everything that you can consider what you need to do in your daily life in order to have a more balanced state of life. And that includes sleep, that includes how your exercise, how you work, how much you work, what you eat. So all of these things come into play as a holistic view of well-being in my mind.
Lo holístico tiene que ver con la integralidad y para este día la salud holística es tener en cuenta el aspecto, como decían mis compañeras, mental, emocional, físico y también espiritual. Y hemos tenido como una conexión también con nuestros ancestros, con todo lo que nos implica la salud. Entonces lo holístico es una actitud que nos lleva a tener en cuenta absolutamente todo en la vida.
Si la palabra holísticamente es nueva para usted, para mí también, porque cuando Enrique me pidió que hiciera una interacción holística, tuve que yo personalmente entender qué era esto. Así que no están perdidos, por favor, entendamos qué es holísticamente y tal vez ya lo estamos practicando de miles de años. En mi caso, aprendí mucho acerca de mis raíces ancestrales, los mayas, y que también, como las demás compañeras dijeron, somos un complejo de diferentes formas para cómo sentirnos bien. A veces nos duele algo y pensamos que lo vamos a aliviar con alguna medicina particular, pero a veces ese dolor es reflejo de se está reflejando por otra condición interna. Y cuando hablamos de la salud del ser humano, tenemos que tomar en cuenta muchos aspectos, como mencionaron y los mayas reiteran, espiritual, mental, emocional, factores de la naturaleza que influyen. Y en sí, todo es una combinación de todo. Cuando hablamos de bien, hablemos de todo en sí, todo nuestro alrededor, todo nuestro ser.
So, Wanda, I think that everybody agrees that holistic is considering the self as a unity made up of different aspects. But modern day medicine doesn't treat the individual as a unity made up of different aspects. You have a doctor for different parts of your body. You have a doctor for external things, internal. How do we combine all these things?
I think it's going to take really an education for those who were trained in the traditional way of medicine, simply because, as we know, many of the physicians, healthcare practitioners, what they do is they ask you questions, and from the questions, they connect that with the symptoms that you are experiencing, and then they come up with a diagnosis, and then from that diagnosis, then you have a treatment. So it's symptoms, diagnosis, treatment, and it's treatment according to the diagnosis without taking into consideration all the different layers that makes us a human being and that can affect us as far as health is. I've always been open-minded. I am a Haitian. I am from an island, so I do believe I share a lot with many of you here. My parents were physicians, so I guess I must have been the poster child for it. But how do we how do we bring this together in the modern era of medicine? It's really going to be talking to these physicians and probably the upcoming graduates of medical school, because they are now starting to realize that, hey, it's not just about symptoms, it's about what's going on at home, what's going on in the workplace, the dynamic in the family. We have to take that into account, because when you say holistic, and what about the religion of the person, the beliefs, the interpersonal relationships? So, and again, one other thing that needs to be really emphasized is the mental health, because so far at this point, medical school is just targeting physical health. They don't talk about mental health.
Yeah, and mental health comes out of the realm of the body, and the body is looked as a thing that it's analyzed. It's something that they look under the microscope, and it's a thing, really, literally. It's not the wholeness of what our bodies are as beings, right? Dorita, as a holistic psychologist, I remember that Carl Jung, the psychiatrist, towards the end of his life, in an interview, the last interviews that he gave, he talked that after so many years of working with patients, he realized that most of their problems are boiled down to one thing, and that was lack of spirituality.
Sí.
Not religion. And I make the distinction because he made that distinction, but lack of spirituality that was causing all the different symptoms and problems.
Sí, y lo que también, lo que decía Carl Jung es que el alma, porque en ese momento se consideraba el alma como un aspecto separado del ser humano, y él no podía concebir el ser humano separado. Él decía, somos una unidad espiritual que necesita poner atención, y el alma viene con una conexión desde el cosmos, y él tenía clara la conexión entre los seres humanos y la naturaleza, ¿no? Entonces, para él lo que nos dejó, digamos, que para iniciar como esta cultura de ver al ser humano desde un contexto holístico, lo que decía Wanda, la parte mental, como todas esas problemáticas, no están en el cuerpo. La salud mental no está en el cuerpo, está en el espíritu, y es el espíritu el que está dolido, es el espíritu el que tiene algo que sanar, y puede que sea de sus ancestros, de su familia, por eso hoy en día se están rescatando todas esas teorías que venían de estas corrientes de Carl Jung y otros estudiosos del tema, para ver cómo vamos a mirar cómo desde nuestras abuelas, nuestras madres, traemos una cantidad de mensajes, las mujeres y también los hombres, con respecto a la vida hoy, a la salud, ¿no? Y eso unido a que dentro del esquema de la ciencia, lo único que vale es lo que puedes comprobar. Pero Carl Jung decía, no, lo que vemos es el reflejo de nuestra alma, de lo que está detrás, ¿no? Y como decía también acá mi compañera con respecto a los mayas, todas esas rituales espirituales, toda esa preparación que tenían ellos para la medicina, no venía del cuerpo, venía del espíritu. Y ellos hacían esa conexión para limpiar lo que estaban haciendo, limpiando el espíritu, limpiando el cuerpo también, pero más allá, es toda la conexión integral de los ecosistemas.
And there are some practices, and Sylvia, that are very ancient. The practice of yoga is one of them, right? It goes back thousands of years, really, and it considers the human being as a whole, not just a body, right?
It's interesting because the tradition of yoga, I mean, yoga's gone back for thousands of years, but the physical practice that you see now in studios, and I think that most people think of when they think of yoga, has only been around since the 50s and 60s. like the physical practice that you see, it's basically become more of an exercise for things, for folks. But, and I don't want to kind of, I don't mean to kind of tear that down, because look, if you come to the practice because you want to feel good. I mean, I think you do anything because you're looking to feel better. And whatever that entry point is, I'm okay with it. I think that's fine, because if you're connecting to your body and you're getting some kind of, you feel, or you get a response and it makes you feel better, or you sleep better, or you go through your day better, it's going to have an effect on the other aspects of your life. So it's an entry point. So being able to kind of look into yourself, feel things in your body, notice how you're breathing, has this ripple effect in how it kind of transfers outwards. So it's dealing with the self first, I think, and then just kind of going beyond that. But what's interesting is that the physical part of yoga always seems to be the easiest thing to kind of understand. But the traditional practice used to be that it was just kind of taught in like the mountaintops, and it was only like specific people who knew what the practice was of yoga. And you were supposed to go through these physical exercises in order to be able to meditate, to just sit with yourself. So ultimately, it's just that goal of trying to get to yourself, because once you can kind of heal what's in, it's like what Dora was saying, once you can kind of get in connection with what you're trying to heal within, it moves outwards.
For probably 100 years or more than 100 years, 200 years, medicine relied on medicines, pills, everything that is artificial. It used to be that medicine was coming out of the earth itself, of the environment. I mean, and it was believed, and it was lost, that belief, but it was a reality that for every ailment, you could find the answers around you. You didn't have to go around the world, right? The answers were right there, and the medicine was right there around you. But everything, I guess what I'm asking you, Yvette, is with the expansion nowadays of medical cannabis, it looks like we are going around back in time to something that 200 years ago we knew all along.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it briefly before, where, you know, everything that we need is here. So if you stay close to what the earth provides for us, right, whether it's food or medicine, the purest kind is always the best one. And I think as human beings, we've just moved away from that, whether it's your lifestyle or wanting instant gratification. Nowadays, you go to the doctor and you have an ailment and he gives you a pill, which puts a Band-Aid on something, but then it gives you all these other side effects. And, you know, we're learning that the hard way. And so the people who come and look for CBD, let's just say, because it comes from a plant and it's natural, it's not synthetic, it's not processed. I think they're looking for, it's almost like an awakening. They're really looking for an answer that's more natural and holistic, because they're coming back to what you're saying, Rob, that core, something that's provided right here. Like, we have what we need. And I think it's happening more and more. Now people are moving away from that conventional medicine, like Dr. Wanda was saying, because it's not all about just that. You have to take all these other pieces into consideration.
And I will second what Yvette said, because they are coming back to saying, we really need to concentrate on what used to be earth-wise, what was growing out of the earth, because now slowly and surely, and I think it will take each one of us to really educate. Like about 1 month or so ago, I was with my gynecologist. Now she's Muslim from Ghana, and I was asking her what she thought about supplements, holistic, and she said, "Oh, I love that stuff." Actually, she has women who are telling her, is there anything that you can give me that's natural? I don't want to take those pills because nowadays all you have to do is go on the internet, you see the side effects, and you go, And so we talk, and I really wanted to get a sense of her practice. What does she usually see most commonly in women's health? And she told me, I said, can you please, be somewhat of my indirect line to your patients, and you could absolutely look into the research and all that. So she and we're going to be talking. So slowly but surely, but I just don't like this idea that as soon as you say the word holistic, people look at you like you are witchcraft, voodoo, what have you. And I'm guilty because when I used to hear holistic, because it came from people who just spewed it out as if they were parents. And then when I really look into it, I realized that, okay, some people say holistic and then some people say natural, but it's not the same thing because, as you said, it's all these different layers of us as human beings versus the approach, like you said, Yvette, the natural. Everything now is going. Now, I was just talking to somebody right before I came. I haven't seen him. He said he's doing things to grow from the earth. He's going to become a farmer.
Yes.
And there are so many people you hear about the community gardens. I know somebody in Hyde Park. She's had a community garden for 6 years. So we're going back to that to help people who are underserved, who may need to just go into a community garden without having to pay anything and to feel much better.
And I think the key there is what you said before, which was education.
That's right.
People come into my store and they say, listen, my doctor said I should take all of these things, but I really want to try, and you're my last resort. I really want to try something natural because I don't want to do those things. I really don't. I don't want to take pills for depression or anxiety
or to sleep.
Exactly. Or whatever, because we're so far away from that now. We really have to take it on ourselves to be more educated and do better.
Exactly. And you know what's funny? Because what's interesting, you find people who have been on this medication for a long time. And then when they hear about the natural stuff, they realize somehow, some way that, yes, that could help them. But for some reason, oh, it's expensive. Oh, wow. Oh, I can't afford that. But yet they'll be on a medication with side effects for 15, 20 years. The damage has been done. And whether it's CBD, whether it's, the therapy, whether it's, the ancestral methods that can be a combination for the treatment. Oh, that's expensive. Oh, I don't know about that. There's this resistance, and I don't know if it's a resistance because they're so indoctrinated, and I hate to use that word, but they're so indoctrinated into they need to have something, or the opposite. They haven't minded for 15, 20 years to be on this medication with side effects, but then on the opposite side, they are the ones who actually want an answer, a miracle. After 15 or 20 years of damage to their body, they want a pill to work immediately. Right. No, it doesn't work that way. So that's an education in itself for those people who say, oh, I don't want to take medication, and then they're going to be blindly trusting their doctor.
En casa es importante que tengamos este tipo de conversación acerca de la salud, porque también no podemos esperar que nuestros jóvenes crean en algo que nosotros no practicamos. Pero algo que tengo que decir que yo crecí en una familia donde la medicina moderna no era práctica de nosotros tomar medicina aquí y allá. Entonces, eso le heredé, le hice práctica para mis hijos, ¿verdad? Entonces, ellos cuando tienen un dolor y les digo, ¿quieres entonces un Tylenol? No, mamá, no, deja, espera, o vamos a tomar un té de manzanilla, o vamos a tomar un té de menta, o vamos a hacer esto. Ellos van a la caja donde están los test y lo hacen. Entonces, también es práctica, es práctica. Las personas que no nacimos en los Estados Unidos, por lo regular tenemos esas tendencias a tener eso engranado en nosotros, pero nos olvidamos porque cuando vamos donde el doctor, la respuesta inmediata es que lo dan medicina para A, B, C, D, yo qué sé cuánto. Tengo una amiga que tenía 14 medicinas diferentes porque fue incrementadas para curar lo que había manifestado la primera medicina, y así terminó con 14 medicinas. Y entonces, ¿y ahora qué? Es hablar esto, claro, que son los, y es algo nuevo. Estamos, o sea, es algo viejo practicado desde mucho tiempo, pero nuestro lenguaje es nuevo.
Exactamente.
Yeah. I would highly recommend going to see a naturopathic doctor. I'm not a naturopathic doctor, but I've met quite a few, and this is, again, a holistic view where they take everything into consideration. It's not your traditional form. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, it's cost prohibited because it's not covered by insurance. And you've got to kind of pay for it. But in the long run, if people understand this, right? If you eat well, now, yes, organic food is a little bit more expensive, but in the long run, down the line, you're not going to spend as much time in front of a doctor because hopefully you've done the work up front, right? So you kind of got to weigh out that balance. Money sometimes is an issue, and I think that's where, you know, we run into trouble because some people don't have the money to go the more natural route, but it's a choice. It's really a choice for your health.
It is, but it's also, I think we're giving, you know, I think people are having conversations. We're having this conversation now, and I think people are realizing there are other ways. I think it used to be that whatever the doctor told me, I'm going to take it. Whatever the doctor says, that the doctor knows best. But I think just even taking that moment, that pause, where it's like, well, wait a second, maybe there's something else that I can do. And even we were just talking before, even organic, there are ways to do, you can eat organically. And it not be quite so expensive. Yeah, you can make a lot of things on your own. I mean, if you look, a lot of these processed foods tend to be really cheap, and that's why a lot of people end up buying them. But fruit can be cheap, you know, natural food can be very, and it's also really convenient. But I think it's, if people can kind of take a minute and feel empowered in the choices that they're making.
But that's my point. Education is key. It starts with the education.
Oh my God.
Prevention.
I'm sorry?
Prevention.
And prevention. And you know, both of those words are my middle name.
Bueno, yo he visto que últimamente, digamos, ha aumentado la cantidad de personas que están tomando opciones holísticas, opciones naturales, porque ya vemos grandes centros donde podemos conseguir estas cosas. Necesitamos, como dicen acá, educar a las personas, ¿no? En la salud holística, y también educarnos nosotros para poder que no nos dé miedo ir a comprar o ir a implementar, ¿no? Todo lo que nos puede dar salud. Más yo creo que también es importante que los doctores, que las personas del campo médico, psicológico, mental, todo, ellos también tomen una actitud de cambio, ¿no? Porque no podemos estar simplemente recetando y yo, por ejemplo, tengo una gran frustración con mi mamá porque ella me escucha todo lo que yo le enseño, bueno, y algunos doctores le dan opciones holísticas a ella. Sin embargo, ella se guía por sus medicinas, la que le da tradicionalmente. Entonces, es importante también como abrirnos espiritualmente, mentalmente, para que pues toda no, que los médicos también se abran a este movimiento, que es bueno para la salud, ¿no? No estamos hablando de que algo le va a hacer daño al ser humano, ni que es una tendencia de moda, no. Es retomar lo que ya veníamos, como decíamos acá, los ancestros, ellos no lo demostraron, tenían larga vida, tenían mejores opciones de salud, las personas no se morían en los hospitales conectados a nada, morían naturalmente. Entonces volvamos a retomar lo que los ancestros nos dejaron.
Hoy aprendí mucho acerca de que necesitamos vitaminas, necesitamos leche, y algo descubrió, no necesitamos leche. Cuéntenos un poquito más. Usted mencionó esto, que en Asia hay un grupo de asiáticos que no consumen leche y no tienen osteoporosis. Entonces, yo me quedé pensando, ¿y entonces qué había creído todo este tiempo cuando los dicen la medicina o la leche, la importancia para los niños y sus calcio?
No, that's not true.
And the reason, so I'll follow up with that. And the reason why they are saying that the rate of osteoporosis in the Asian culture is non-existent is because they have physical activity versus us, because there's physical activity that actually forms bone. You know, when they say do weight-bearing exercise, there is such a thing. Weight-bearing exercise means when you're jumping rope, for example, or when you're doing jumping jacks. Those are the form of exercise that actually still form your bone, and therefore you've got the calcium from there. You see, so that's why they walk. If you take the Asian from the country, for example, or even the one from the suburbs, they take the train, they walk all day. We don't. We are more sedentary if compared to people from the Asian culture.
Algo que crecimos, yo crecí que teníamos que caminar para la escuela, teníamos que caminar las distancias, y el sol y la caminata era lo diario. En este país es diferente. Entonces, por supuesto, mi piel cambió. Cuando se sale uno del invierno, bienvenida a todas las enfermedades que pueden haber por ahí, empezando desde gripes con nuevas alergias. ¿De dónde participa esto? Pero sí, nuestro cuerpo cambia, y tenemos que considerar atendernos de una manera con más cuidado, porque nos salimos del invierno, queremos que venga el verano porque necesitamos vitamina en nuestra piel. ¿Y qué pasa cuando nos exponemos a la vitamina C de un lado a otro extremo? El cáncer en la piel, ¿verdad? Entonces, tenemos que de alguna manera ser pacientes y ser responsables de nuestro cuerpo en sí, en su totalidad.
How do we prepare ourselves for the changes that are happening in our bodies as humanity, I mean as a whole, because we are changing. The latest studies are showing that each of us, every human being on Earth, right now has in its own composition and even in its own DNA, plastic. Plastic is already in us. It's part of our cells. The same plastic that is scattered all over the world, in the oceans, everywhere, it's already in us, right? In the fish that we eat, in the animals that we eat, it's already in there. What happens to this changing body? In a sense, we are changing as human beings. We're not already the human beings from 200 years ago. Our constitution is already a different one. Where's the balance? Because, I don't know.
Yo creo que la idea es tomar conciencia y liberar un poco o sea, tener más conciencia del ecosistema de la tierra, porque nosotros vivimos de la tierra, sea que comamos animales o plantas o cualquier cosa, y evitemos tanto el plástico, como tú lo dices, eso se puede hacer. Hay culturas en otros lugares, se tiene más conciencia con respecto al plástico, con respecto a los empacados y todas estas cosas. Lo podemos hacer, volver a lo natural, cocinar en la casa, como decía Wanda, tener las cosas, llevar la bolsa de papel para recoger, la canasta, para evitar. Yo creo que si nos unimos los seres humanos en tener conciencia de nosotros mismos, vamos a poder que el sistema cambie. Entonces ya los supermercados no están dando bolsas y muchas cosas, y uno lleva su bolsa, entonces se está evitando que nos empaquen la comida en bolsas y ese tipo de cosas. Yo creo que es porque muchas de las cosas que lo que decía la abuelita ancestral es todo eso que nos están imponiendo a las alergias. Todo eso no existe, eso es simplemente que nos preparan, porque yo veo que en la televisión y en todos los medios de comunicación están vendiendo todas las medicinas para cada cosa, y las personas cuando salen afuera ya van preparadas a que va a haber una alergia. Y eso no es real.
And I would say, piggybacking off of that, I was going to say this earlier, it's the mindset. It's your mindset, what you're starting with. So people who I see a lot, they just say, well, I have pain, and that's just part of aging. And if we change the mindset and say, you shouldn't have to be immobile, you shouldn't have to accept that as a part of becoming older, right? It changes how you think things. You know, all of these ailments that we have today, we didn't have 100 years ago, right? These are labels that we've now had an option to choose. Oh, which one am I? Oh, maybe I have that because everybody has it. Or maybe that's me, or maybe you have to change that mindset first to say, no, you know, I shouldn't have to live to 80. We should be able to live much further than that. But if you think you're gonna, you know, die sooner, then you will, right? I think mindset is really important.
It's a self-fulfilled prophecy.
It is, and definitely, I'll follow what Yvette is saying. Mindset is everything. I run through the same thing. And it's kind of sad because these are myths that people believe. Oh, you talk to women, oh, hot flashes, 15 years. That's not normal. That's not normal. Forget what you were told. Forget what your friend is suffering. That's not normal. It's a hormone imbalance. And your doctor is not addressing that because they don't know how to, because they were trained in hot flashes, boom, HRT, hormone replacement therapy. I was talking to somebody yesterday. I went to an event, and she was telling me that her 18-year-old was placed on birth control pills because she didn't have regular periods. I said, stop that right now.
I'm not foreign to that.
I'm sorry?
I'm not foreign. People have told me that is the process in place. If a young lady does not have her period, they give birth control.
I know, but you know what? Guess what? And I know because that is the standard treatment, that is the protocol. However, did anybody know here that 18-year-old may be at risk, will be at risk for stroke, heart disease, and blood clots? And I told the mother that. She said, listen, don't worry, I'm going to share some information with you, and she's going to see that doctor in 6 months. I said, listen, it's a hormonal problem. And you know, I dug deeper because as Dora would absolutely attest to, since we're talking about a holistic psychologist here, I dug a little deeper. I said, any trauma or
Mhm.
anything
That has to do with
negative, that could, because we do know that emotional circumstances, anything in their past may have done that. So guess what I found out? See, when you ask questions, but see, a doctor would not know to ask that.
Exactly.
So I ask her because I'm in the field, I'm in the mental, and I've learned so much because I got educated because of my sister.
Mhm.
So I asked her anything in the family, what there's something happening, and I was blunt, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, whatever. And she said, when they had moved to the States, they had no, oh no, they had taken her to the States, but they had problems, with the papers, visa, and all that. So it took a month for them to follow her up. So that girl felt abandoned.
Yes.
So that carried, and that has carried through. I mean, so I thought, does she have any mood swings? She said, oh, sometimes, and so basically I said, listen, just, I'm going to give you information. We're going to take care of that. You don't let your daughter be on birth control pills.
I don't want to say that, there's not a place for modern medicine because
Correct.
obviously.
Me neither. I'm not saying that either.
Right? It has saved many lives.
Yes.
I myself am a breast cancer survivor. So I can tell you that there absolutely is a place for modern medicine. However, I think that we should just not be complacent and think that doctors are God, because they're not. They make mistakes just like everybody
Correct.
else does. And they've been taught a certain kind of way. And it's our job to hold people accountable, to really challenge them,
Yes.
to do our due diligence and go out and sort of investigate and research and
Exactly.
ask questions.
That's what I tell them.
And I think that through that, you start to find you navigate and you try to find what works best for you. And bringing this all back to where we started, Rob, it's the holistic approach, because you
Correct.
have to consider all of these pieces.
Correct.
That is part of the big picture.
And that is not taught in medicine.
Mhm.
And that's where the problem lies.
Mhm.
And I will second you again, Yvette, because it is that health advocacy piece that
Mhm.
I keep emphasizing to people. Ask questions. I mean, I did a health workshop letting people know what questions to ask
Mhm.
when you arrive,
Yeah.
during your visit, and after,
But
because people
But-
don't even know the
But
questions to
we live,
ask.
yeah, but we live in a society here in the States that you don't ask questions.
Mhm.
And even if you ask questions, you don't get answers
And so,
because doctors don't like when they are asked,
well,
But people are, but it's part of the education, and it's also understanding like your body is really your own best teacher. When something doesn't feel right, when something doesn't feel right, doesn't taste right, when things are changing, trust that, and don't be afraid to ask questions. And if the doctor that you're going to isn't willing to have the patience to sit through your questions, then you need to find another doctor.
that's what
Because
I
it's a
tell people.
relationship.
That's what I tell
It's a
people.
relationship you have with your
There you
doctor.
go.
They have to listen to you, and all your concerns, all your worries, nothing is too crazy,
Exactly.
And if you get to the doctor's office, which most of us know, it's an 8-minute window.
Yeah.
How many questions can you ask in 8 minutes? Oh, hi, how are you? What are your symptoms? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, write the script. Okay, thank you very much. Put your clothes back on. It's not enough time.
5
I-
minutes.
I see it in my store. People come in all the time and sometimes they stay a long time.
Yes.
Why? Because they want to talk. They
Correct.
want to tell you probably more information than I need to know, but they do because they don't get that opportunity with their doctor.
And you know why? It's not the fault of the doctor.
No, it's not.
It's
not.
behind, it's
What is-
all.
It's the
Oh,
system.
it's a
I'll tell you
different
because
problem.
I've been
It's a
in that
whole-
healthcare system for more than 20
Yeah.
years.
It's the system.
I was there before managed care
Yeah.
came into place.
Yep.
So I know that whole picture. What's behind that? It's managed care. And what's also behind that is also the insurance company.
Yes.
You know what I was told by my ophthalmologist? I just did an eye exam. Now, in my family, cataracts run in my family. Both of my parents had it and everything. I have a touch of it in people 60 and over. They have that as a normal part of aging. So I said to her, well, when do you get concerned? When do you get concerned for me to say, for you to say, oh, okay, we're gonna need to do surgery on your eyes, blah, blah, blah. And then she said, I don't. The insurance company decides that. I said, what? I was in shock, and this was a week ago. I said, what? What do you mean the insurance? She said, yeah, we have no. I said, the American College of Ophthalmology does not have a say-so in when they should do a surgery for cataract. The insurance does. I said, I'll be darned.
But we as people, we gotta push back.
It's exactly. Oh, trust me, you know, because she said, I said, so when will I know? She said, if you have any complaints of not being able to see and stuff like that. I said, I'll delay that sucker.
No, but for your listeners and for people who are
Yes.
listening,
Yes.
they don't be afraid to ask questions.
Exactly.
right.
That's what I tell my class. I teach a class of adults in medicine. They to prepare them, to work in the field and in the office. And I tell them, listen, even as you are patients, you need to ask questions. They're all young and they're all, minority, Latin, who, in the culture, the doctor is revered. They, you trust them blindly. They don't do any wrong. I agree with you. They're not God. I always say that line always, because they are not. They can make mistakes. Right now, there's a young lady who is fighting the fight of her life with her husband who has a rare form of cancer. I read every day because she made the Facebook her own journal. She has absolutely defied and asked questions to the point where the doctors are actually listening to her because she's doing her own research and she has no science background, nothing, just common sense and asking. She said, well, what about this? What about that? That you want to be your own health advocate and a health advocate for
And
your
going back to
family.
what Sandra said before, as parents, I think we gotta teach our kids that.
Norma.
Norma, sorry. We gotta teach our kids that they see you as a parent doing that, fighting, defying, challenging.
Correct.
We have to do that
Yes.
for them as well.
That is correct.
Yes, Normita.
Sí, sí, del pasado no hay mucho para solucionar. Estamos donde estamos. El incentivo de ahora es que podamos abrir canales y de comunicación y de aprendizaje. Aprendí mucho hoy. Soy humilde de decir que aprendí mucho de cada una de las que presentó. Aprendí mucho de mis propias raíces, que tuve que sumergirme y hacer un poco de historia, de conocer un poquito de la historia. Entonces, a veces tenemos que invertir ese tiempo, parar, invertir ese tiempo y, como dijo la doctora Wanda, anotar de repente esas preguntas que se nos van a hacer fácil cuando vamos a la consulta, porque en mi comunidad la costumbre de no preguntar, todo es obedecer, y cuando eso no es lo que hago, eso es lo que yo pregunto, ¿verdad? Y pero eso es lo que el preguntar algunas veces me ha causado hasta acusaciones por no haberle dado medicina para HTA, deficiencia de atención para uno de mis hijos. Me dijeron que los maestros me dijeron que me van a llamar al Departamento de Protección de los Niños. Así fue, así es. Y fue porque no implementé esa medicina recomendada por la psicóloga o el psiquiatra o yo no sé quién más, que ni siquiera consultó conmigo. Simplemente la escuela me dijo que esto es, tengo que suministrarle esta medicina. Y imagínense a un padre sin la lengua en este país. Ya tiene una desventaja, ya es marginado por la lengua, acceso a la lengua. Y ahora, sí, es bastante. Para una persona que no nació acá, y tiene otro lenguaje. La distancia
Yo sé.
con ese canal, ese puente para comunicarse, educarse, está más distante. Pero nos aprovechamos de eso. El sistema se aprovecha de esto porque así se formó.
Sí, lo importante es que tengamos en cuenta todas estas reflexiones que hemos hecho hoy y no nos quedemos callados, que tengamos la conciencia, no con nadie, conmigo mismo, o sea, que me empiece a amar y a reconocer y a saber qué es lo que necesito para mí, para mi salud y aprender, no solamente quedarme con lo que el doctor me dice, con lo que me dice la televisión, sino que investigar como hemos hecho
Leí
todos.
mucho de
Leímos.
HDAD, leí mucho, investigué y me di cuenta que la comida tiene mucho que ver con
Exacto, yo
Con las
quería que-
emociones, con la salud,
Exacto,
exacto.
que
Eso es
no
lo
sea
holístico,
eso.
que seamos holísticos, eso es como
Sí,
la reflexión.
Para aquellos que nos están escuchando o viendo, ¿dónde se busca información sobre todo esto?
Pues
¿Dónde
bueno,
buscar información que sea reliable? Porque información hay
Ay.
mucha,
exacto.
pero ¿cómo se discierne qué información vale la pena leer y qué es?
I did a health workshop actually as to what is reliable as a website. Yeah.
And
Oh, so this is what I tell people.
I mean,
Oh,
because
oh,
no.
sorry.
You go to YouTube
Yes.
and you put wellness or well-being, and there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds
millions
of
of
people talking about
Yeah,
it.
but you,
okay?
but
Some
you know
of
what?
them using just common sense, they don't make sense, right? So,
Yo tengo una estrategia y es, bueno, mirar información donde hayan referentes teóricos, donde no solamente la persona dé su opinión, sino que tenga los referentes médicos, estudios científicos que se hayan realizado acerca del tema y también experimentar. Hay que oír nuestro cuerpo. Nuestro cuerpo, yo les he dicho muchas veces en nuestras reflexiones, nuestro cuerpo es sabio y sabe qué es lo que tenemos que comer. Entonces, hay muchas advertencias buenas con respecto a la salud, ¿no? Tenemos claro qué es lo que lo que nos hace daño. Entonces, experimentar positivamente y empezar a creer en sí mismo y en lo que come y cuidarse, ¿no? Y mirar esos canales. Yo, por ejemplo, miro lo de Google, mucho YouTube, pero también lo mismo con referentes, porque pues ahí no solamente está la educación, está en los libros. Las bibliotecas están llenas de libros.
Sí y no,
hay
porque
que-
la medicina ancestral maya no la van a encontrar en los libros.
No,
La van a encontrar reconectándose a las
raíces.
que todavía están por rescatarse. Y eso a través, si miramos en la comunidad filipina, si ella busca con sus abuelos, con
Ajá.
sus padres, ellos le van a contar, hay una información muy potencial que viene con verbalización y fue lo que hice hoy. Traté de traer no papel, traerles muestra de por qué un huevo es usado para eliminar la mala energía de nuestros cuerpos. Fue algo tan simple y no lo van a encontrar. Y tampoco lo van a comparar con la ciencia
comparativa.
Sí, tampoco es eso, sino que es eso, esa actitud de esperanza que podemos avanzar y que queremos estar bien durante el día también implica bastante. Just the fact that we can wake up and be grateful for that day, appreciating the air in itself, appreciating the light in itself, appreciating and understanding that the night was already gone and then it's coming ahead. I think there are very simple factors and elements that we can use right now that is not necessary that we have to prove and we have to read, just have to gravitate from like the fact that we are breathing.
Yeah, la intuición.
I also think, I mean, in the same way that I think people have to be discerning about their news. You have to be discerning about what it is that you're reading and you're taking in. Consider the source of where you're getting your information.
Yeah, that's
I think that's
number one.
really it. Consider the source. If it's something that's they're trying to sell us, or if what you're looking at has a certain agenda, you have to consider what that agenda is as you process that information. But again, it requires asking questions, it requires taking time. It's not going to be a quick thing where otherwise then it's the same thing as just taking what's given to you. It's taking whatever the doctor just want to prescribe to you. You have to kind of look at it from a bunch of different angles and actually kind of take a moment to think about, where is this information coming from? What's coming? What is the source of this?
And you need
But-
to invest your time.
Yeah.
Time investing. It's A plus. And then most of the time we say, oh, we don't have time for that. We don't have time. But what we avoiding is the outcome of a long term, because if we do not address our holistic way of continue our being in this planet, I think we have to talk about where we are. It's not to scare people, because it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. And then I know that we are changing, but we're changing very, very slow. And then invest that time. I think it's investing time. Sometimes we are forced to do that. Sometimes we're afraid because it's something that we're not used to.
But I think also it's unfortunate, going back to Joyce, it's unfortunate that people will take in information because they don't have that foundation. So when you're talking about somebody going to YouTube, there's so much information. Many times people will listen to somebody who validates their beliefs, not facts, not the fact that I'm saying, oh, sugar is not bad for you. And then you'll have thousands of people because they heard somebody say, oh, well, you haven't listened to Dr. So-and-so and blah, blah, blah. It was just like yesterday, I was talking to somebody, she said, well, Dr. Grundy said something about intermittent fasting, and she was doing the intermittent fasting all wrong. Because she was, quote unquote, not eating until 3 o'clock, and when 3 o'clock came, she ate pizza.
Oh, boy.
And then soup, Campbell's soup in a can.
No good.
I said that's not what intermittent fasting is about and the purpose of it. So I had to explain that to her. She was totally misinformed, but she wasn't misinformed because she didn't even have the basic information, because you have to have something basic. Like for me, I can go to YouTube and I can say, he's an idiot, she's an idiot. I'm not listening to that. I'm not, because why? Because I read a lot. I have a foundation. I have experience. I have read a lot. So I can immediately tell, charlatan.
And we are getting to the end of this
I
program.
knew we were
Time is running out. I'm sure that we could continue for hours on end. But just to finish, one word, one action from each of you that those that are following us can do, and it's easy to do, to improve our lives. And I will start as an example. Smile all the time, smile every day, smile to everybody. One word.
Ask questions. Well, questions.
La leche de almendra se necesita 4 para hacer leche, 4 estos, dijo Dora. Aprendí hoy, aprendamos a ser más simples y las cantidades de repente que comemos, de repente consideremos cambiar.
Comer natural, orgánico y creer en nosotros mismos, experimentar nuestra propia realidad.
Breathe, and breathe slowly. When you tell somebody to relax and take a deep breath, you'll see, no. Breathe slowly.
My one word is live in gratitude.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to
Thank
all of you for sharing this day and for sharing all your thoughts and your wisdom.
Thank
Thank
And
you.
we'll see each other next week.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Rob.
you, everyone.
Thank you, Rob.